It's
She
so
thinks,
weird.
"Hey, my wife
Okay,
thinks I'm
she can
hot."
think that. That's great. I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with that. But trying to convince a bunch of strangers all day how hot you are is bizarre, insecure behavior. Let me answer
Wait,
your question. Let me
that's just her
answer your
being proud
question.
of how good
Let
looking
me
her
Okay,
husband
fine. I'm
is.
glad your wife thinks you're
Yeah,
hot.
she
Okay.
thinks I'm amazing.
Okay. Great, Andrew. Yeah, you're a
Yeah,
great looking guy. Okay, so now
yeah,
can I
that's
answer your
true.
question?
Yeah,
Now
go
can I
ahead.
answer your
Yeah,
question?
sure, sure.
Thank you. So I've done OAN, Fox News, CNN.
CNN, dear,
Okay, hold on.
on a
Let me
regular
finish.
basis in
Let me
stasis.
About this story.
Well, that fucking sucked. Uh, that was just like the last time. I even asked some people around the house, did I seem at all like I was getting tired? No, no. So I don't know what the hell was going on. I don't know what happened. I literally, I sat down, I was ready to go. I was feeling freaking jazzed, and within less than 10 minutes, I was already all of a sudden just gone. Um, the good news is I slept a long fucking time, and so I'm. This episode's been cursed. 68 has not been good. I've tried to film this several times, and it's either been canceled, not started altogether, or it's happened twice now that I've had to restart because of passing out in the middle of for whatever reason unknown. Um, sorry. I wish I could. I wish I could tell you more than that, but I don't know what the hell's happening. I'm supposed to be getting a. I really don't want to get too much into medical procedures, but I'll just say it. I'm supposed to be getting some sort of. I don't know how this works exactly, but it's apparently done outpatient, so I don't have to stay in the hospital for days because that would kind of suck. But some type of outpatient MRI that is done, so they can monitor. I did the MRI and I talked about having that done. There's supposed to be some kind of way it can be done in a environment that it can be data can be gathered that way, and I don't know exactly how it works. I guess I'll find out when we go, but um, maybe that'll give me. I mean, it's kind of been decided. I've told you guys the cause has kind of been figured out. The only question is, what do we do about it? And that still doesn't seem to be something that anybody's able to figure out yet. I mean, I think there's still details that are. It's like I said, the last time I went to have blood drawn, they took 9 damn vials. That was, and I hate getting blood drawn, so that was not fun. But anyway, yeah, this is just, it's really unfortunate, and it's cutting now into this so much that this is why I keep saying that I really wish I could do more, but for the time being, it's just trying to do it more is just not going to be practical, and I really, really hate that. I want to do this more often, but I don't even. But right now I'm fucking pissed, okay? Because I've been trying to do this for so long. This is an important one to me because of what we're talking about, and I'm not going to go around in circles anymore. I just felt really bad because once again I had everything set up and I was doing a late show because there's been a bunch of stuff that's come in that I've had to clip late, and like I said, I've been adding stuff to this episode over and over again because new stuff's been coming out that kind of adds to or removes post information that I didn't know and put it in. So basically, long story short, because of the amount of time, this had to go through several iterations of changes. But I've got a lot to get to, so we'll just leave it there, I guess, and I'll just let you guys know. Like I said, I don't like doing this, but this is the only way it'll work out. I'll try my best to be on as much as possible, and I think, MLA was the one who first kind of confirmed that he liked the earlier hours. I do too. There's just with the already difficult situation. Sometimes I'll just say sometimes it's not going to work out that way. So if for whatever reason it doesn't, and I have to do it later at night, then I will. But Yeah, it was almost going out. Hold up. There we go. But I will be aiming for earlier hours. So about now or about an hour before this or so is when I'm going to try to be going on, and hopefully that'll be more often than not the time that I end up coming on. But we'll see how it goes. I'll do the best I can for that though. So anyway, all right, on with the show. So I don't know about you guys, but it's especially depending on where you live. If you live in certain places, it's probably even worse. But as we'll be going over today, but the keynote is the West is going through a very, very unusually difficult period of time where I've never seen a group of people who are claiming to be so tolerant and so accepting, who at the same time are so viciously evil and angry and nasty to everyone. If you question anything about what their motives are for something, like, it's obvious in the United States what the motives are. That one's clear. It's not so obvious in the UK what the motives are, other than something akin to. I really can't even tell. I mean, then again, I'm not a resident of the UK, so I can't say for sure. But if it's the same reasoning, maybe then it makes sense. But it just doesn't seem like with this, like, because in America, with our system of government and a two-party system, it makes sense. Okay, you have a bunch of people you're letting in, that one party and one president and one side of Congress and all that stuff. One side that is completely trying to make sure that this is kept as a very very regulated and very controlled procedure that's done by screening and background checks and making sure that someone that is going to enter the country is either going to be able to contribute to the country in some way that would be beneficial for the country as a whole, or is someone who temporarily needs to be protected from a situation in their country of residence, so that they can potentially get away from a situation that may cost them their lives. Now, those systems, of course, were exploited to the maximum under the last administration, and we saw what their quote-unquote empathy looks like. It looks like a whole hell of a lot more people being victimized than would normally be if the system was set up to be operating under the way it was set up to work. Because there was a statistic, like I think it was like about 33 to 35% of women that made the journey to the southwest or the southern border were sexually assaulted and raped along the way. I don't care. I'm saying it. The words, because I'm not. I'm Rumble. You guys are always not always. Usually, Rumble is the one that seems to be. Like last night when I passed out, somebody, thank you for subscribing. Someone subscribed even. I just needed to pass out and they subscribed, so thank you. But still, yeah, as far as the border, like, okay, so you got a rate like that of people who are getting sexually assaulted along the way from their country of origin to the southern border. You know, young girls, it didn't matter what age. It could be old, it could be young, anywhere in between. There were things like the rape trees. Those were disgusting. Many women that took the journey were getting a patch or getting some sort of the implanted pregnancy birth control method that you can get taken that lasts a significant amount of time, longer than, you know, something like something like the daily pill or whatever, so that it was not needed to be. You don't need to do anything, and you'll be if you are unfortunately put in that situation, you will at least be protecting yourself from the consequences of further pain. But regardless, it's still yeah. And on top of that, in the last episode we looked over this. Chip Roy showing everyone who had been, well, not everyone, but the people, huge amount of examples of people either who had been coming across the border and who had been killed or nearly dead. they had to have the mobile morgue set up so that they could keep all the dead bodies in a refrigerated mobile sort of trailer-like facility so that they could clean up all the bodies found along the border. There was all the fentanyl victims that he had photos of, and literally throwing the faces of these people at Alejandro Mayorkas. Once again, I'm extremely pissed off looking at. We're going to be going over this, by the way, in terms of California, Spencer Pratt, but in particular now with the governor's race being between Steve Hilton and Javier Becerra, and if that son of a bitch gets rewarded for being the when everyone talks about this, and I had forgotten the number, a lot of people are saying 350,000 children. There actually was a report from the Department of Homeland Security. They said that number was about twice as much. About 700,000 children were actually trafficked across the border and ended up in the control of people who hadn't been properly vetted, hadn't had anyone in the household properly vetted, had been accepted as a sponsor for 10, 20, 30 different children, and they stopped stopped accepting phone calls. They stopped staying in contact with the DHS and the basically any NGOs that were part of the process. These weren't people that were. None of this is the kind of thing that screams, these are just poor innocent people looking for a better life. No, these were in large. I mean, there are definitely those people amongst the group, and I feel bad for anybody who's stuck in a situation where it's incredibly difficult to get out of the financial rut that you're in. But once again, if people in this country want their quality of living to go up, if they want the prices of gas and groceries and household necessities, if they want those to stay at a lower price, you're going to have to look at the situation and accept the fact that, okay, illegal immigration and illegal migrants, especially the ones that are here that are now claiming welfare and claiming food stamps, because as much as they try to tell you they aren't eligible, believe me, there are ways that they, how many false IDs and fake IDs and fake social security numbers. You know how easy it is for illegals to get a hold of that kind of information so that they can be put in the system. And you know how many state employees really don't even give a shit? They'll just sign them up anyway. They don't care. They're true believers. A lot of them are honest to God people who will be more than happy to skirt some of the rules to make sure that this person gets everything they need while they're here, because there's people who genuinely think that they're doing the humanitarian thing. They have no idea. They never take a step back to look at the big picture and look at the fact that especially the already impoverished Americans, those who have already been on the lower end of the income bracket or have literally virtually no income, those are the people who suffer the most from people who invade the country and end up soaking up all the social welfare programs and finances and money that gets poured in by taxpayers, and that's just a sad reality. So we can't. The world population that is living in difficult conditions is far too vast for the United States to be, and it's like, I hate this rationale, because there is a very, very juvenile and very like, it is such a childlike view of the world. That's the best way I can describe it. Is like, oh, America has plenty of money. We have plenty of money. We have plenty of money. No, we don't. We don't. Why? You think that? Well, they do. Yeah, they're convinced by this idea that there's the table of big, evil, corrupt men sitting in shadowy rooms, twirling their mustaches and laughing as they collect more money from the higher gas taxes. It's a joke. It's bullshit. It's not reality. The reality is that first of all, when it comes to fuel, that operates on a global market uh, scale because it's a global commodity. But when it comes to other things um, like for example, agricultural, that has to be harvested by farmers, and then once it is harvested and after the long process of harvesting, and then it is prepared for transportation, then it has to be sent on trucks or planes, wherever it's sent to get to a destination. That destination usually is a packaging facility. That packaging facility packages all the stuff, then that has to be transported again. It has to go. I mean, the amount of work and money that goes into the process of just getting the food to the supermarkets is not just like, okay, we'll just drive it over to the, no, there's way more that's involved with it, number one. And number two, if gas prices go up, the transportation costs go up. If the transportation costs go up, everything goes up, meaning goes up for the farmer, for the packaging, for the employees that are working at the plant. Like every single step of the process is going to cost more money. And so the idea that it's just people trying to get rich, no, they're operating on a deficit if they don't change their and some companies are benevolent enough to operate even at significant deficits as much and as long as they can to prevent their customers from having to pay any more higher prices. That's a very seriously intense ask because a lot of those people in those companies are going to have to accept that their families are going to suffer if they have to lower their prices. And we're not talking about, like, here's the thing. I've heard a lot of people that are completely mistaken about this idea, and they have this weird sort of understanding of finances that anybody who has money, it's always because it was handed down from someone who was a parent or a guardian that died and left it behind. That's how they have all their money. Number one, that doesn't happen nearly as much as you think. And number two, when it does, there's far less chance, unless that parent was extremely good at teaching their children how to handle money, meaning unless they taught them the importance of investments, they taught them the importance of saving, they taught them the importance of only buying the most necessary things, not blowing it extravagantly on whatever sort of expensive car or expensive clothes or expensive whatever that you're going to spend it on. People who actually know how to handle money are the ones that are able to keep money, and that's the important part. When you hear about people who are millionaires or that have large amounts of money for long periods of time, that's because they know how to be successful. There's tons of people that have fallen into large sums of money. In almost all the vast majority, I think it's something like 10% of the cases like that, who fall into a very, very large sum of money somehow. Almost all of them, it's like 90%, they end up eventually within a short period of time, within a few years, like spending all of it, or at least mostly all of it, because they don't know how to handle money. They never had money. And I can speak from experience. I'm not talking about a huge sum of money, but I'm talking about a pretty significant chunk of money. I had that happen a couple times. The first time I was very, very, very bad with what I was doing. I was not thinking about long-term hold on it, and it really kind of moved much faster than it should have. So the next time I ended up falling into money again in any kind of significant amount, I was far, far, far more protective over and choosy over what I was spending money on. I didn't just blow it wherever looked like it was a good idea. I only picked it. As a matter of fact, when the last time I fell into money, a lot of it went to the gear and the recording and audio equipment that I've got now for the show. But yeah, no, it was. I viewed it totally different. I was trying to view it as a something to use for future proofing. Like, this wasn't an extravagancy. This was kind of a protection. I bought some replacement computer parts to replace the ones that were the oldest and the ones that were most prone to failure, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to end up in a situation, and I've had this happen before, where a hard drive goes out, or some critical something critical to the PC goes out, and then you got to spend a shit ton of money finding one. And now, I can safely say I don't know if anybody else is into PC building, or actually has worked on computer hardware before and actually opened up a computer and put parts in. But right now, RAM is insane. I think the chip shortages are showing very strongly in that department because, my God, like a DDR5 RAM a few years ago, decent amount of 32 gigs of 6,000 meg DDR5 RAM. That would have been, $299 for 2 sticks. There were 16 gigabytes each. Now, that is almost always that I've seen bare minimum over $500. That's insane. I've never seen it anywhere near that high. And so, once again, there's reasons for that, but everyone seems to think that there is no real explanation for that, other than, once again, the shadowy evil man in the room trying to steal money out of the poor innocent people. No, there's reasons for it, and once again, sooner that people can look past the superficial idea that people are just, it's like the excuse that gets used with Donald Trump all the time, and why gas prices are so expensive. Like, and the big beautiful bill, once again, it was like, this was passed so that he could just help his billionaire. But I'm sitting there going, wait, hold on, let me get this straight. First of all, I don't know what billionaire buddies you're talking about and where they're getting the help from Donald Trump. I don't know what he's doing that makes you think he is just, trying to influence. Oh, I'm sorry, man. This should have been turned off a long time ago. Background noise. It's hot today, but I didn't want that running. So I don't know who these people are that they think Donald Trump's just handing money out to, I guess. But I really don't think that's the reason why. I think the reason why is because, and people just don't look at, I watched, I don't think he's in the House anymore, which, if he's not, that's a real travesty, because this guy was the best person to watch when it came to the current debt and how bad it was, what we were going to need to do if we were ever going to get out of that. But his name was David Schweikert. He was from Arizona. He was a House representative for the Republican side, and he used to go down to the floor at least a couple times a week with like a big stack of those big cardboard charts and just, the printouts that they have of charts and data and graphs and things like that will show over time how the debt, what has happened to the debt, why, how, and you always see it flows back to 2020 and 2021, and it really spikes after that in early 22, I think, with because the response to the pandemic was bad. The Biden administration's continued response to the pandemic really fucking blew it out of control. When the first stimulus bill was pushed through, and Congress and the President, Trump at the time, decided to go with the stimulus package, there was still a huge amount of pressure on trying to figure out the safest and easiest route to get people active in the economy again, to make sure that this was as short as possible and we get everybody back to a situation where we were out of it as soon as possible. When Trump was supposedly, quote unquote, voted out, and Biden came in, their plan was not at all. They changed it seemed like it wasn't much of a change, because it took a while to start implementing these things, and at that point they'd already started confining people to their homes. It was much more draconian with the way, that was when they were encouraging people to snitch on their neighbors if they were outside. I mean, it was just was out of control at that point. But the more important point is that as far as the economy goes, the more important part is when the what was it, the American Rescue Plan or whatever the hell that thing was called, when that came out, and they spent a shit ton of money on another stimulus. Oh, that was like deciding, okay, the economy is screwed up. How do we pour more gasoline on the fire? And that was exactly what they did. That was exactly the plan. And they ensured that we were going to be in a very bad economic situation for a very long time, except they wanted to tell us, which is why, you know, leftist news networks always blame Trump for this and blame the current administration for that, like they did all of it, which that's not even close. He's the only one who's actually, even when you look at the inflation numbers and the number of the CPI, when Biden was still in office and just about to leave, it was like they really even decided for one last big FU to everybody in the country. They decided, all right, we're gonna just blow everything up one more time, just as much as we can, just to really fuck him over when he gets into office. And we're still feeling the effects of that. It's definitely, I mean, we're still feeling the effects of the second stimulus bill. But that was really when the spending got out of control. And that was also when the Congress was controlled by the Democrats. So you remember those big, giant freaking bills that were like this freaking thick, and they were like just filled with a bunch of ridiculous pet projects that they wanted done. Like, oh, I want a new park in my district that is going to be dedicated to this endangered animal that nobody knows about and no one's ever heard the name of and nobody ever really cares to learn anything about. But it was just nonstop, and it was all done for virtue signaling, climate change. There was always some reason that we had to spend the money, or oh my God, we're all going to die from this. We're all going to die from COVID. We're all going to die from climate change. We're all going to die from Donald Trump. We're all going to die. We're all going to die if we don't let all the illegal migrants in. We're all going to die if we don't have fentanyl pouring across the border. I don't know. But and people somehow, there are people that are so anti-Trump, I think they honestly believe a lot of that's still true somehow. Take a look at Brian Shapiro in the intro clip. Not anything he said there other than I don't even remember what he was arguing about, so I can't even represent it. But the guy is just like, he swallows everything he's told by the Democrats whole, and he tries to call himself a independent. Yeah, independent, my ass. But anyway, the point is that, going back to the original point, that's one reason why we're in the really bad condition that we're in. Everybody is struggling to get by because there's been no, like, if there was one break that we caught during this time period, it would be very beneficial. It seemed like we were headed there until the Iran issue started, and a lot of people still are blaming Trump for the fact that the whole situation even came up. Oh, is that yay, MLA? Thanks for being here, man. Thank you for texting them last night too. I'm sorry I missed you, but I think I was already out by that point. So, and like I said in the beginning of this episode, I have no idea what happened. I was feeling 100% good last night. I was totally fine, and even everybody that I talked to at the house last night, and when I asked them this morning, it's like, so did I seem like I was out of it, or did I seem like I was tired? Like, no, you seemed totally fine. You seemed hyped. I was like, yeah, I was freaking. So I don't know what the hell happened, man. But thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And I'm trying to stick to your recommendation because I appreciate that too. And yeah, you mentioned I know I'm a little late today, but I'm definitely earlier than I usually am. So I want to stick to as close to the earlier time as I can. But thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. So as far as the situation that is in Iran, let's say we'd kind of avoided that. Well, we got rid of the nuclear sites. That was very important. But this country is continually displayed defiant patterns towards anybody who wants them to give up on any kind of program that involves weapons manufacturing or even nuclear weapons manufacturing, bioweapons manufacturing. It's a scary situation. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like, because we'll get into the peace deal here in a minute because I'm going to give my opinion on it, and I guarantee probably nobody's going to like my opinion on it, but I got to give it my honest opinion because I hear a lot of people who are freaking out like crazy on both sides, and it's stupid. But anyway, the reality is that this is a country that has said, even in the face of us preparing to bomb them back to the Stone Age, that's according to Donald Trump, they weren't willing, even in that scenario, to give up on the pursuit of nuclear weapons, of like, actual uranium enriched weapons that are going to be at their disposal for attacking any country they want. And you bet your ass that a country like that, a theocratic regime that is 100% devoted to their ideology, and a large part of that ideology is blowing up the entire Jewish state and murdering every Jew in the country, murdering everyone in the country, really, whether it be Jews, Christians, or fellow Muslims who they think are traitors because they live there, unless they're acting covertly, in which I'm sure they're fine. But the point is that I don't doubt. Now, I thought that this would get the message across when they showed everybody this, because this is proof positive, irrefutable, that whatever it is you think that we're going to be able to do to reach a understanding with Iran, when they fired their missiles that went twice as many kilometers as they were proclaiming for quite a while now, that was the capability of their missiles, and you looked at what is 4,000 kilometers away. Well, 4,000 kilometers easily reaches Paris, and it can reach some lower parts of the UK. They have a couple more years with that, or even a little bit more. They'll be able to hit London easily. They'll be able to hit the United States easily. And once it gets to that point, if they can hit the United States or London, and you combine that with the idea that they are talking about putting nuclear material onto these rockets and then they're going to launch them that far, I mean, we can't. The idea that we can just wait for them to do that before we step in and do anything is so. I would say it's so suicidal. I don't know how anyone would think that was an option. Like, you have a regime that's lied over and over again. We catch them lying by their show of force, literally intending to show you, hey, we can do this, and we said that it was only 2,000, but actually can go 4,000 kilometers. That is like, sorry, no, I don't trust that they're being honest. The centrifuges, and then when they are being honest, they are bold enough to say to the negotiators, including, I think it was J.D. Vance that was there at the time, from the United States, that when it came to the enriched uranium, that they were attempting to create into nuclear weapons. I've said this before. Their quote back was that, no, we're not going to give you willingly what you couldn't take militarily. That's scary as hell. The idea that the United States government can't negotiate the terms for which they would be willing to give up, even at the cost of apparently being offered energy sources outside of the region that would be given to the country at no charge. They would be supplied energy, and they wouldn't have to pursue this supposed. The amount of enriched uranium you need for energy purposes is such a low percentage. We're not talking anywhere near what they were doing. So that's not even an excuse. But the idea that there's an offer on the table that, hey, if you're worried about energy, we'll make sure that you can have energy for the entire country for free. We'll make sure that it's running for you. That wasn't something they would accept either. Um, it's it's disturbing to hear that level of commitment. On top of the fact that we have done the type of damage we've done to both their leadership and to their military, and yet they still are not willing to really negotiate in good faith. I'll just quickly touch on this because I heard that the what is it, the agreement, the peace treaty, the settlement between that Trump was talking about, and apparently now this is JD has been sort of spearheading this idea, and it seemed like people were kind of interested in the idea. I will say this though, two things about this. Number one, while I understand the idea of engaging in good faith to attempt to reason with this country, who we want to see stop killing their population, we want to see the Iranian people be able to live without being oppressed constantly by these homicidal maniacs. We can't, at the same time, just offer some kind of half measure, and at the same time, we also know, based on, like I said, global prices for oil, we can't allow them to control a body of water that is used for a ton of transportation of oil and natural gas that is in large part going to China, in large part going to Russia, in large part going to all sorts of different areas around the world that are in all likelihood are going to be in conflict with the United States. And while that is going on, at the same time, they're putting down mines, and they're having their little terrorist proxies run around and blow up with mortar fire any ships that might not be, might not be cool with Iran. They're blowing them up and making sure they can't get. So this is already a fucked up situation. I get the idea, but here's the problem. There's two things I see going on. Number one, Donald Trump said it, and I believe him on this. Like, we're going to put this deal out. We're going to offer it to them. If they agree to it, which it seemed like they were, then and I say seemed in a second, seemed like they were, because one thing that never gets talked about as much as it should, but it's definitely a major factor in this, is their economy. Their economy is absolutely in shambles. It is completely and totally in the gutter. But the problem, once again, with tyrannical governments like in Iran is that the brunt of that is felt by the population and not by the people who are leading the government. Now, this would be a different situation if there had been a situation which it seems like Trump was kind of banking on at first. And also, I didn't realize the reason why. Now I'm starting to understand why the Kurds didn't go and immediately sort of drop off the weapons that had been entrusted to them to deliver to the Iranian citizens, because there was this scuffle that had ended up with them in a sort of bitter struggle with another group in the region. The point is, it wasn't based on malice. They weren't intending to just run away with the weapons, and they also probably were hoping that they could kind of figure a right time. I'm just guessing. It seemed like they could figure a right time to kind of bring these weapons in and hand them off to the Iranian citizens, so that they would have the best chance of defeating the IRGC or whatever was left of it, with their help, I'm sure, and with the help of the United States and Israeli military. But we never got to that point because nothing's ever happened. They're still executing Iranian citizens, and at some point there will be a breaking point. I mean, there will be a point where the people see, but it's going to depend on the military there being degraded to the point that they don't even have the capability to show. It's like a alpha male of type that has to puff out its chest or its feathers or its whatever kind of intimidating sort of posture it takes to ward off different males and impress different females. It's like as soon as the military gets to a position where it's not as intimidating as it is in to the Iranian population, then maybe we'll see them be able to come to the conclusion that their only hope left is to overthrow the regime, because right now they're starving, they're dying, they're gonna be crushed by the economy. And like I said, any kind of money that is still in Iran or any money that comes to Iran is going to be under government control. It's not good. The people aren't going to see any tiny fraction of that. So it's like I hate to say it, but once again, it's just like we saw this on a micro scale in Gaza. Everyone gets mad at Israel and Trump administration for setting up their distribution sites for food, and Israel were blocking the UN trucks that were delivering aid and food to the people. Yeah, those trucks were getting hijacked. The drivers were getting shot, and then they're driving them straight in to make sure they gave them to Hamas. The people weren't getting any of them. They were getting some of it if they could pay Hamas enough, but that was a pretty steep price for a civilian in the country. And once again, nobody cares. Nobody cares about that. They just use the talking point because they're not interested in the reality. They're just interested in what's going to win their side of the argument. So, to kind of finalize this peace treaty, I think it was noble. I think it had noble intentions. It had a good sort of momentum behind it, and it was something that, under most circumstances, I think would have been a reasonable idea. But here's the problem: there hasn't been one deal I've seen that's ever come across the desks, whatever they sit behind in Iran, that they've been willing to sign to, and they've been demonstrative of standing by. Like every single time they sign an agreement, they break it. They break it every single time. And so, while this is what I really can't stand, while I can kind of understand with the Israelis, because they kind of see it like, but we're still going to be in trouble. But at the same time, it's like, well, okay, we're helping you out. We're still helping you out. We've never offered to not be helping you out. And we're still giving you money, even though, once again, they spend 75% of what we give them on weapons that are manufactured here, and it goes back to our economy. Even so with all that, we could just stop giving you the money if you're so upset with us. If you're so upset with us that we're not doing what you want us to do, and just wiping out the Iranian leadership, or just going along with any plan, then you don't have to accept our money. You don't have to accept our money. You don't have to accept our partnership. You can do things your way, and I'm sure that would lead to a totally different sort of scenario. Now, we don't want to do that, obviously, but the idea that we're going to have a hand in this, we're going to be lending our military, our technology, our how much do you think it costs to build a modern military carrier ship? You think that's cheap, or you think that's an expensive ass fucking thing to be just rolling around in the Strait of Hormuz with? Like, no, there's a reason. I don't think I actually send the carriers into the strait, but regardless, ultimately, what I'm just getting at is, like, we're investing a lot in this too, and it might not be as much as Israel because they're right on their doorstep. And I get that, and I understand. I get it with Lebanon, and especially with Hezbollah. They're a disgusting, despicable stain on the earth, and they should be obliterated. But and they are playing games with the Iranian government, so that, well, this never included Hezbollah in the deal. It's like, well, no, it didn't include them in the deal. How are you still funding them? I don't really, obviously, know how they handle that. But the point is that this is the complexity of the region. Everywhere has been, everywhere for a while was pretty much against Israel. Now there are countries in the Gulf that are actually allied with the United States and with Israel. And after the Abraham Accords, the scenario became totally different. And now, after their weird decisions during this conflict, Iran's been just shooting missiles into different countries that are in the region without any, without any apparent consideration whether they're friendly or not, whether they're Arab or not, whether they're like an enemy or not. Like they fire into wherever they feel like. I'm blown away that anybody could be supporting that regime at this point, but apparently some people do, regardless. But my point with the bill, my point with the treaty is that I get the hostility, I get the concern, but number one, we're trying our best to end the fighting here. If this doesn't work, I guarantee you Donald Trump is not going to roll over for these freaking cavemen who have been lucky enough that that the world superpower hasn't uh, blown them into orbit. But if they keep pressing their luck, he will. And I think that one of Donald Trump, I heard it described earlier today. One of Donald Trump's greatest qualities is that he has shown time and again that he is willing to blow up the opposition that is opposing him if they push him. And I think they're getting into a territory where, especially now after this peace deal, and here's the second part, I think they are going to. I even heard today. I haven't confirmed this at all. I don't know if it's true or not, but they've already violated something that was going to be included in this deal that they were trying to line up behind, that was going to stabilize the region. If that is the case, I don't see any other option left for Donald Trump and the administration other than, okay, all right. And I did see one story that did mention, all right, there's a planned attack for something. Like there's going to be some massive repercussions if this time we've gotten to the point of saying that we have a deal we have reached that is going to bring an end to the conflict. And if that gets violated, and Donald Trump and the administration has gone around saying, we think this will work, we think this will make everybody happy, and then they violate it already, I don't see anything that could stop him from sending a serious message this time around that, all right, fine. You want to try and embarrass the United States on the world stage and do reputational damage to us? Okay, all right. It's bad enough that 13 of our men died at the beginning of this conflict. You haven't been able to touch anybody since then because your weapons are shit and your tactics are shit, and the amount of your military that are left is in the gutter. But all right, we'll play this game. Let's play who's got the bigger bombs, and I think we'll win. But ultimately, one way or another, this deal, I don't know why any Israeli or Jewish individual, especially if they're in the United States, would look at this as a capitulation to Iran. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. Trump is very aware, as is the cabinet. There are people there who are, have lived under oppressive regimes. There are people there who have been in the Middle East or have been in Israel and have been subjugated to living under these regimes before as well. There's people that have experienced the wrath of this despicable, disgusting group of barbarians, and we're at a critical point now where it's time to, okay, is it going to be solved with the pen and paper, or is it going to be solved with the military? Which one? And I think we're kind of at the point now where that decision is going to be made. The one unfortunate side fact is that that's going to lead to leftists going, "Oh, he's killing innocent people." First of all, no one in the West, not Israel, not the United States, are ever deliberately killing civilians. That's not how things work. But there's always going to be miscalculations. There's always going to be unfortunate casualties. And this is the thing that happens with Israel, is that they get attacked by the entire global population. I don't think that the same kinds of accusations or the same kind of rhetoric that people use to try and put Israel back in the box is going to be anywhere near as effective to the United States, because it's like, hey, we knew who we were targeting, but it's like when they tried to say that they hit that quote unquote girls' school right next to their targets. It's like, okay, first of all, it's Iran. Girls, when do girls get educations in Iran? When does the Muslim faith say that girls are to be educated and get jobs and go on to college? Like, when is that part? Where is that part actually? I would like to know, because I haven't heard about it. But secondly, even if you accept that as the case, okay, they've got a school for girls in Iran. That sounds ludicrous to me, but okay. Why the hell are you putting it right next to a military base? Because the only possible reason I can think of that would even make any sense whatsoever is if they intended it to be blown up. If they wanted it to be blown up. And that's one of the things they have caught on to more than anything else after the Gaza situation, was that the global community of these shit fucking what do you call it? Virtue signaling pieces of garbage that will go out and equivocate October 7th and 9/11 to what's going on right now in the Middle East that's happening in Gaza or Iran is so fucking delusional and disgusting at the same time that I don't see how anyone with any kind of real understanding of morality or of the of wartime wartime action, and what the difference is in a war court versus like a typical civilian court. Like there's I just heard somebody describe this the other day. It was really interesting to hear that the rules of war dictate that the side that puts the civilians in harm's way are the ones responsible for their deaths, if they're not directly targeted. Like if Israel was directly targeting a group of civilians on purpose, which I have no reason to believe that would be the case, then yeah, that would be Israel being responsible for... What the fuck was that? Looks like a light. Did a light just go on? Okay. Well, anyway. Oh, that one's kind of... Hold on. Oh, maybe that did. Hold on just a second. There we go. I don't think that was it, but that was weird. Anyway, the idea of the Israelis going through and the IDF attempting to attack Hamas fighters and being forced to go into an area or attack an area that Hamas deliberately put civilians in front of, like, say, a school, a hospital, a shopping center, like whatever it is. If the enemy combatants are using human shields in that way to put themselves in a position where they're out of harm's way because the civilian is now in harm's way, that is on the fault of the military that chooses to hide behind. It's like there is a section of the was it the Geneva Convention? Whatever it is that governs the rules of engagement. It is not a violation of the wartime laws that those people would be killed on Israel's behalf. Like it would be they would be the ones being responsible. The responsible party would be the one that put them in that position in the first place. So unfortunately, no, everybody that's been trying to weaponize that against Israel this whole time, that's not how it works, unfortunately. Sorry. So you have to try and think of another one. What the hell happened here? This is weird. Turn it way up and see what happens. Okay, that's a little bit better, but man, that thing is really... Let me see if... There it is again. What is that, man? and now we'll move on to something else because this is driving me crazy. I didn't even think I was going to talk about that for so long. No, it's still. Okay, well, let's turn it this way then. Let's see if this is. And, oh, I know what else I can do here. That might be a little too much. Yeah, it is a little too much. Okay. And, sorry, one last thing. This will just take a second. Oh, that's what happened. I see what happened. Okay, one of my lights in my main light stand went out, so that makes more sense. Okay, so anyway, I don't want to talk anymore. That was already way more than I planned to talk about this, but I had to at least mention it because, a lot of this instability that's going on around the world right now is based on migration coming from that part of the world and it being accepted by Western countries that because of the war going on, they are seeking asylum and therefore we should welcome them into our country. Well, here's the issue. Last time that that happened, and it was after Afghanistan and the United States took in refugees, it turned out those refugees were a little morally questionable, to say the least. Meaning, AKA, they had like 9-year-old brides and shit, and it's there's the cultural shock. There is the issue, and here's where we're going with this. We've been seeing issues keep rising over and over again, and I guess I'll get to this story first. This is the point where you see the people, rightly so, say enough is enough. I'm sure at this point a lot of people have heard what happened in Belfast and the riots that started up there, and I'll just say right now, hey, more power to those people. I swear, this is absolutely incredible. It's disgusting that the government would permit people in that are capable of this, which, by the way, once again, you can't know somebody's record when they come in because, geez Louise, because they aren't, the record keeping in most of these countries is non-existent. If they have any kind of records at all, they're completely and totally insignificant. They don't have any kind of like real serious data on. Why is it so bad, man? Gee. Oh, I see. Hold on. There we go. I think that's what was. No, it's not. Oh, it's better though. Okay, all right. Well, we're gonna have to just live with it like that, I guess. So, yeah, like I said, the record keeping is shit. But I guarantee you, somebody that will do what this guy did. This isn't his first. This isn't his first time committing a crime. Okay, you don't attempt to cut someone's head off slowly with a small knife to torture the guy to death after you stabbed him in his eyes for your first offense. That's not a first offense. I'll just make that clear. Now, if that person is either A, illegally in the country, or B, a quote-unquote refugee from a war-torn country, I'd say they belong in that war-torn country because they seem more and more like somebody who would be more comfortable in a war-like environment if they're able to try and saw somebody's fucking head off. So, I'm sorry, I'm going to get a little angry at this, but this is ridiculous. The fact that it is as far as it is in Europe right now, and the leaders are still acting like we need to protect. I'm sorry, fuck off. Yeah, this is lunacy. But anyway, here's a bit. Finally getting to some clips. Here's Steven Crowder discussing the incident. There's a lot of coverage of this, and I picked this one out because honestly, Crowder is one of the few people. I've gotten very choosy, by the way, recently over who I watch and who I decide is actually worth paying attention to. And there's very few now. There's very, very few. A lot of people that I used to watch I've dumped because I'm just sick and tired of hearing their ridiculous dancing that they do. But It's people like Glenn Beck they're great. People like uh, Gavin McInnes. They're free. Not Gavin Newsom. Gavin McInnes. He's fucking awesome. And then I've talked before about Greg Foreman and Black Conservative Perspective. And there's a handful of others, but Steven Crowder is one of the best. And he's been doing a lot of work with Andrew Wilson too recently. It's been good stuff there. But here is his coverage on what happened in Belfast. So, and I really love this take on this whole situation. So, without further ado, we'll finally get on to some damn clips. We can talk about this in a second. And let me make sure the audio is up because we are going to be dealing with some crazy. Oh wait, hold on. What the hell was wait, what? I don't know. Anyway, well, either way, it's fine. So let me open this up. I think the audio is not going to be on it for. There we go. There we go. And it's talked about a lot in this clip, but it is important to point out. There's a good discussion about if this happened in the United States. I can guarantee you, because things that happen where, say, someone tries to shoot up a church or a school, and some good Samaritan nearby hears it, and they are armed, they will attempt to stop the threat in many cases, and they have in many cases. And I can guarantee you, if this was happening in America, that guy would have had his head blown off in about 30 seconds because somebody would have seen that and there'd been no tolerance for this kind of shit. Unfortunately, because they want to disarm the population of even knives now, and now we've got a bunch of lunatics running around with knives that want to saw people's heads off. The people are too scared to carry even any kind of weapon on them. I guess, maybe carry a ball-peen hammer around. That's what Hell's Angels decided to do actually, I think it was just some biker gangs in general. But the point is, carry around anything carry around a blunt instrument, carry around something that's got some kind of swing to it. Carry a baseball bat. I don't care. Carry something, but protect yourself. Protect yourself from something like this. This is ridiculous. This guy sprung up behind the guy and stabbed him, and then it reminds me of, once again, Irina Zarutska got that white girl, and we've got now situations in the UK, in Belfast, where you got this happening. So here we go. This is it's been blurred out, but it's still, even knowing what's going on here is freaking really disturbing. Now, by the way, he's not dead. They're just saying get off him, and they're still. Yeah. Yeah. And I love this. But I can't believe the guy survived. I can't believe it. Yeah. Yes. They have. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. 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 Jesus. Mm-hmm. Mm. This was before all the. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. That's a key message, and that's a takeaway for any American citizen. Is that if you can't quite figure out what it is that sets us apart from this country, and and what the Democrats have been attempting to do by their stance on guns, their stance on immigration, their stance on um, uh, what's it called, law enforcement and police and border patrol, ICE, their stance on all of it. If you want a crystal ball to look into to see where it leads, it's right there. I mean, that's it. That's where it leads to. Someone having their head sawn off in the middle of the road in broad daylight, and you can't do anything but yell and hopefully do something to get control of the situation, and then people so defeated saying get off of him. Like, no, I'm not going to get off of this maniac. I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have blamed those people at all if they had choked him out and just left him there and said fuck him. Like, if he wakes up, fine. If not, good. Like, I don't know any other way to say it, because once again, we're not talking about, you know, you have crime where people get hurt or killed. I understand that you're always going to have that kind of crime. It's unfortunate, and those people should be punished. But when you are talking about someone who, in some way, whether it's based on religion, whether it's based on psychosis, or whether it's based on just run of the mill, un, strange wired brain chemistry, um, when you have someone who can justify the actions that they're taking that look like that, you can't have a civilization that is going to be expected to live around that. That is not at all the kind of thing that people should be subjected to in any way, shape, or form. And yet, once again, as Steven says, when they're making excuses for it, when they are covering for it, when they are instead going after people praying outside of abortion clinics and waving their country's flag, that's considered a hate symbol, and it's considered it's considered damaging. It's considered damaging. That's harmful to have. It's harmful. So it's not harmful for you to have your eyes stabbed and someone attempt to slowly cut your head off. It's harmful to say mean words online. This is an out of control party with an out of control base and an out of control group of people that they want to let in. Because the whole point is, like, these are unexpected, but understandable. Um, what's the word? And unfortunate side effects of what we're trying to do to create. Like, no, these aren't unexpected but sad side effects. These are the completely foreseeable and totally predictable events that would happen when you open the border with no freaking way to verify who you're letting in. That's what it is. There's no two ways about it. That's exactly what it is. So, but what do? Well, as Stephen said, you allow the population to arm themselves. Let's make that very clear. I know that there was this very uh, long tract of knife crime in the UK that got so out of control that they they were setting up knife drop boxes outside of like police stations and shit. And okay, I see you're trying to get a hold of this, but here's the problem. Um, it's the same problem when you consider gun control and the quote unquote mandatory gun buyback programs. The good guys are all going to turn in their guns. The bad guys are going to keep them. And then what happens? Well, then you're at the mercy of everybody who decided to keep the firearms. That's the point. You're going to disarm the law-abiding population. The criminal population's already the criminal population. They don't care. They're going to keep it because they don't care if they have it or not. They went to illegal lengths to get it. They're not going to go to legal lengths to turn it in. So, I mean, it's lunacy. And yet that's the kind of policy that's pursued because of, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The only thing that I can really boil it down to in the most simplistic way to make it understandable is that they stopped believing in the concept of evil. Yes, people can be evil. It exists. People can commit evil acts and be evil people for no other reason than that's just how they are. That's how they were born. That's the kind of world they live in. That's the world that they operate in. And as people who are average citizens who are not evil and recognize the dangers of evil ideology and evil people, the rest of the population has a obligation morally to make sure that we point out what it is that is a evil among us. And so in situations like this, you don't get to the point where this gets this far out of control because people have already learned, oh, yeah, this guy should never have been here in the first place. But let me see if I can find it because there was that. So this is here's the next. This is from Matt Walsh. This was after the event happened, and this is what I would have expected, and I'm not even going to condemn because of like I can say up and down that you should not take to doing something illegal or resort to illegal means to make your point. But when a population when a law-abiding population has been so far disenfranchised and so beat down that once again a woman who sends a private text message from a hospital bed after getting beat up by a guy who she was, I don't know, around if she was dating. I can't remember that part for sure, but I do remember she used the dreaded F slur. Oh no, not the F slur. She called him a faggot. Yes, she did. Oh my God, how he won't be able to live. Well, yeah, apparently he did, and he actually seriously hurt her for it, which is why she was in the hospital. And she texts to her friends saying what a faggot or something like that. And then the police show up to arrest her because she said that in a private text message. We're talking about damn near tyranny here. This is not justice. This is not a judicial system that's operating on the principles that we have, throughout my lifetime, at the bare minimum, have considered to be justice in its in the correct form, in the form that we can justify and understand and present as a system that is necessary to enforce for the peace of the population. the population is not threatened because of that text message. No one is. No one is hurt because a text message got sent. Not even the guy she's talking about. And yet, that's what happens. It's bullshit, but that's what happens. So I'm not going to say I condone this, but I can't condemn it either because I can see people who don't know what else to do but this. So here's Matt Walsh going over this, and after the following events, after this atrocity that we were just talking about. So here we go. Oh, I'm sorry. There's no volume. Sorry. Oh, wait, hold on. It's not playing there either, is it? Hold on a second. Oh, I think I know why. Hold on. I think this is set to the wrong. So yeah, it is. It's set to the wrong source. Okay, there we go. All right, we should be good now. Oops. What the hell? Okay, this is weird. Let me see what's going on here. Hold on. Did it come through in the last video? It didn't, did it? Hold on a second. Hold on. Oh. Okay. So wait. I'm just going to see if this... Okay, hold on. It's set to come out there. If I play it here and see what... Okay. I don't see anything there, so let's see. That might work. Let's see. Okay, come on, man. What's going on? Jeez, this sucks. This happens every time now, man. Jesus. Oh, what's my computer's output set to? Maybe that's why. Hold on, let's see. Gosh darn it. Oh, is that why? Yeah, that's probably why. Okay, here. Let's try this now. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I think I know exactly why. I don't know why it changed back, though. I left it alone since yesterday, and, okay, I think this should be why. There should be no issue now. Let's see.
Activist is going to convince us or
There we go. Okay, all right. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Jeez Louise. If it's not one thing, it's another.
As I said at the outset,
Ooh, it's a little loud, though.
we've simply had enough of this. I mean, no amount of whining from black activists is going to convince us or compel us to go back to the way things were. The Western world has had enough, which is why, by the way, Belfast is on fire right now. What's the expression again? The buildings are on fire. No, I don't think they are, mate. Looks like climate change to me, mate.
Climate change.
It's a mostly peaceful arson spree. Now, really, you can condemn it all you want. But the reality is there's only so much abuse that the indigenous people of Europe can take. It's only a matter of time before they would unite and defend their nation and their way of life and fight back against a full-scale invasion that is intended to replace them.
That's basically the point I was getting at, is that that this is like this is the sort of kind of like do or die moment where it's clear now not only are they going after citizens for ridiculous reasons, but they aren't even bothering to protect us. And when they get called out, as he referenced early on, no, I don't think the city is. The city's on fire. No, I don't think it is, mate. Going back to the Henry Novak case, that, like, you can when you're at the level where you've got a man who's been stabbed and you're putting his hands behind his back because the poor Sikh man was subject to being called racial slurs and having his turban knocked off. And when someone who's a citizen of the country and was born there and is saying he was stabbed, and the procedures are supposed to be as soon as someone claims injuries, you immediately check them to make sure that they are not actually harmed or have any kind of serious wounds on them. They decide to just drop that protocol entirely and just like say, screw it, let's just put him in cuffs. And you know, he keeps saying it. And what really bothered me, I don't know who said this. Now I've listened to it several more times, but it still just bugs me. I don't care if it was the cops or if it was the guy who fucking murdered him. Whoever it was, he you can hear it in the background. It's after the female officer is saying, "Oh, I do have to check him," and she kneels down to look at his eyes. You hear someone say, after they say, he says he's been stabbed. Someone says, "Yeah, he keeps saying that. I don't know why." Like, oh, you don't know why, do you? Well, depending on who it is, maybe you should check to see, because the guy who's here that you are so happily catering to, and to make sure there's no discomfort felt by him, that guy, happened to stab him so hard it went through his chest and into his heart and into his lung, excuse me. And we'll be getting into another case very similar to that in a second. But maybe that's why he's saying it. Maybe he's saying it because he's stabbed and he's dying. I don't know why. How about you check then, you son of a bitch? What, black clothing doesn't hide blood a little bit? It might be kind of tough to see the blood under the black the black sweatshirt he's got on. So you might need to actually lift it up or something. Like anything. You can see how much of his skin, and you see the scratch on his face, or the knife wound on his face that wasn't a serious wound, but enough of a serious wound that it was part of several that was done with the same blade. And once again, that wasn't enough to also confirm that maybe something happened here. Nah, let's just take that guy's word at face value. We won't bother with this white kid. Who cares about him? It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And so, like Matt says, I can't even really say that I condemn it, because I don't know I don't know how I would respond to the situation, but I wouldn't be happy. I would be wanting to probably do something like this. I would at least be compelled to feel like, yeah, is this government ever going to fucking pay attention to me and the citizens and the people that have been here all their lives and planned on staying here and living here and were felt completely safe and at peace just, a couple decades ago, and now we have to be subjected to this. So
they just saw their government cover up the horrific murder of a first-year university student named Henry Novak at the hands of a third-world thug whose family never should have been allowed in the country in the first place. It's not like he was a rocket scientist who they imported into Britain because he was a vital contributor to the British economy. He was a gig worker delivering food. I mean, he was an economic drain on the country, and neither he nor his family had any interest in assimilating. Quite the contrary. They wanted to kill white people and conquer the country. Mm-hmm. And to this day, the government is hiding the videos the killer shot with his phone as he taunted Henry Novak in his final moments. Mm-hmm. All we saw was a portion of the body cam footage, which was horrific all on its own. Imagine what the rest of it looks like. And then just days after Britons saw the footage of the police officers attacking or mocking Henry Novak as he lay dying, just after that, they saw this. All of the Western world saw this. Some barbarian from Sudan tries to behead a white guy on the street. And how does the government of the UK respond? By lecturing the right wing about inciting violence.
Of course.
By telling people not to share the footage because it might inflame tensions.
Oh, yeah, this is a great one.
Well, guess what? The government has lost control of the situation. So here's what so-called migrant houses look like in Belfast right now. These are taxpayer-funded houses for illegal aliens, which the government hands out, even though many native Britons can't afford housing.
That's one of the biggest
But this is what it looks like. The houses are on fire, and the foreigners are being escorted out by firefighters. Now, to understand how radical this is, realize that Britain has sent women to prison for tweeting out support for anti-immigrant demonstrations.
Once again,
and this is where we are now. I mean, these people are simply not afraid of their government anymore. The government has lost legitimacy. Watch.
On the outskirts of North Belfast, several hundred people gathered at the Clockfern roundabout. After the speeches, 200 masked men broke away and marched into the White Abbey estate.
Now, you may not approve of violence. I don't approve of it either.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, as a factual matter, what's happening right now is that the people of the UK have had enough. And the more the police and the government try to suppress the truth, the worse things are going to get.
Absolutely.
Watch this.
So this evening, you can expect to see an increased police presence across Northern Ireland and over the coming days to help support and reassure all of our communities and to keep them safe. We understand also there's considerable posting on social media and people will have really well create questions and concerns. But please do not share footage that might cause trauma and risk to the loved ones of those families involved and on our investigation. We're also aware of protest activity planned across Northern Ireland this evening and continue to monitor that and plan accordingly. I know that last night left people feeling a range of emotions from fear to anger. People will want to have their voices heard. But we all remember over the last 2 years, significant disorder that only led to damage in our local communities and young people getting caught up in disorder.
Please do not share footage that might cause trauma. That's the official response of the police force to the footage of a beheading on the streets of Belfast. Mm-hmm. They're claiming that the problem is the fact that people recorded the beheading, not the beheading itself.
Of course.
Hannah also appeared on television where she pushed the same message.
Oh, and this is great.
Watch this.
This is great.
It's nightmarish, and you've seen some of those scenes. Obviously, unspeakable violence in North Belfast, and people understandably revulsed and shocked and fearful and angry. But within minutes, unfortunately, negative actors online and politicians locally who don't really care what communities in North Belfast have been through, straight into the issue to incite and to divide and to call men out onto the streets in Belfast. And what you're seeing is a race-based pogrom. We are seeing men going door to door, asking to get the foreigners out based exclusively on the colour of their skin. It's not based on what they're contributing to society, what their status here is. And it's terrifying for people in Belfast who want this sort of politics to be far beyond them.
Jeez.
Well, she's wrong when she claims that this is a race-based pogrom. No one in Belfast hates anybody because of the color of their skin. That's not why they're trying to evict people from the country. They don't have some irrational disdain for certain skin colors. People in Belfast are furious about the fact that they're overrun with invaders, many of whom are violent, and most of whom are clearly net negatives on society. Open borders as a policy choice has been catastrophic for the native people of the UK. It's obviously unsustainable. It's hurting everybody and their families and their children. That's what they're upset about.
So, I pretty much completely echo what Matt Walsh has to say there because, like I said, I'm not. I criticized I heavily criticized the BLM protest because it was like, you know, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. You see an event like that, and then you get Mayor Jacob Pride come and cry in front of George Floyd's coffin, and you get all these people out to destroy cities. If there's one case of police brutality, it is justification for Black Lives Matter activists to all go run to the streets and burn everything down and steal a bunch of shit and destroy everyone's private property. It's like because of that one incident of police violence that happened to go spread everywhere. Meanwhile, time after time after time, act after act after act, how many? I saw. I can't remember his name now. The other guy who was running for prime minister, I think, or was trying to run for prime minister in the UK. He was reading victim statements from those who've been victims in the rape gangs in the UK. Reading statement after statement. He had a stack of them just like this big. It was like there was tons and tons of pages. Some of the most disgusting, unbelievable fucking acts you can imagine. This wasn't just like a rape game. This was full on torture, degradation, humiliation, and basically a criminal operation or a criminal enterprise almost, operating as a sex trafficking organization. Like, this is of children. They say some as young as like 12 or 13 years old. And this is like, this is unbelievable. He didn't even read even half, not even close. And because there were so many. And that's what's been going on. So it takes that much, plus a kid getting stabbed and getting handcuffed and then dying under police custody, and a man who almost gets his head sawn off slowly to get that to happen. And you notice the contrast. One black man, situation with the police, everyone claims it's because it was because his knee was on his neck, and the coroner report shows like 4 times the level of lethal fentanyl in the system, but I'm sure it was the cop. Regardless, one black man, how many victims in the UK at this point? And now they finally not to mention the fact that, once again, how many innocent civilians have been stopped, questioned, arrested, judged, found liable, found guilty, put into prison, fined, put on probation, whatever, because of a social media post, because of praying where they're not supposed to, because of saying something that was considered offensive to somebody. Like, this is lunacy. This is the absolute destruction of Western culture from its fundamental and foundational principles that have been in place since its founding, being stripped away for the benefit of what? People that don't do a thing to help anyone. It's done on the only reason is just to show how virtuous the leaders are. Is that what that's the only thing it seems like to me? Because unfortunately, there's nothing else I can see that it would be beneficial to anybody. That's the only thing I can see. So, in that same vein, let's take a look at the United States and our own sort of unfortunate situation where somehow, some way, there's been a strong response, but there is definitely not the same unification behind that response, because it's not being taken wholesale at when this situation happened. So it was last year, was it last year? It may have been even longer than that. I can't remember exactly when, but Austin Metcalf stabbed in the heart by Carmelo Anthony. We know that for a fact. Carmelo admitted to such when the police were cruising the area, and he says it wasn't alleged, I did it. Tried to claim self-defense. Didn't go so well for him. As a matter of fact, his own witnesses basically contradicted everything he was saying. The defense, their witnesses contradicted everything. The defense, yes. Even his defense didn't really have anybody to corroborate his weird situation of he feared for his life or something. And of course, the prosecution had plenty of examples for how this was not, in in any way, shape, or form the fault of Austin Metcalf. This was an unprovoked stabbing for basically telling him he was in the wrong place. He was sitting in the wrong area. He was sitting under the wrong tent. He should leave. And no escalation really until he was attempted to be removed from the tent. And that was enough to say that he thought his life was in danger, was attempting to be removed from the tent after he basically provoked a reaction over and over again. So there's a lot to say about this, but I'll just play this to start off because, like I said, I'm going to try and kind of fly through this now because I'm probably going to just move through these two. I'll touch on the third story a little bit, but we'll have to save that for the next show all the way because this one's going to probably take up most of the rest of the time. I don't want this to be a super long episode today because I was not planning to have to. I really wanted to do this last night, but anyway, let me see. Here is, I think it is. I think it's this one. Yeah. Yeah, this is it. Okay. And then there's yeah. So okay, and this is kind of a sort of a very condensed version of what was going on throughout the case in court. So it was a relatively short trial compared to many of the other high-profile trials that have gone on in recent events. But anyway, here we go. Let's get started on this because this is wow. This is once again like compared to the UK. If you're going to say that this is, which by the way, the point is the reaction here too, which there's no real good defense I've heard, but there's a lot of excuse making, and then there's also not a lot, and there's also quite a few people who are like, wow, yeah, this is ridiculous, and it's refreshing to see some pushback finally. So yeah, here, I mean, it's sad it took a case like this, but it is encouraging that people are starting to recognize what are we talking about here. So here we go. Here is the news cases for this event, and let's go ahead and check this out.
Well, happening this morning, a jury is going to be returning for day 3 of a high-profile murder trial underway in Dallas's suburb of Frisco, Texas. Carmelo Anthony is accused in the fatal stabbing of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet. The 19-year-old has pleaded not guilty, and News Nation's Leah Lando is here now. You can get us up to speed on everything that jurors have heard and what we can expect. Of course, this is a very racially charged story.
Right, and very emotional day in court, as you can imagine. Jurors expected back in court this morning as testimony resumes in the murder trial of Carmelo Anthony. Friday, jurors heard emotional testimony from first responders, police, and witnesses who were at the track meet where prosecutors say Anthony fatally stabbed 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. Investigators say the two teens went to different schools. They didn't know each other before this incident. Prosecutors say that happened under a...
Now, hang on real quick. Let me just interject and say that was another thing that was said over and over again, was that, oh, he used to bully Carmelo at school. It's like they didn't even go to the same school. So there's one problem with the story initially already. We got some inconsistencies, but you'll notice several of those actually if you know the case. But we'll continue. Go ahead.
Team tent when Anthony stabbed Metcalf in the chest. Metcalf later dying at the hospital. Anthony was arrested and charged with murder. A Memorial High School track coach testifying that a team tent serves as a school's designated area during competition, so they compared it to a team bench in other sports. And he told jurors, quote, "You just don't go into someone else's tent uninvited. A Frisco firefighter paramedic.
That's another key point too that they were trying to say, was that he was just trying to get into this tent to get out of the raid. This was just a tent nearby. It's like, no, the teams for each school clearly are set up to have a situation where, like he said, it's like bleachers. It was raining, so apparently, so the reason they would have this sort of separation, but have tents there instead of just bleachers, is because they don't want people to be in the rain. But they would set it up like you would any other sporting event, where there's the home and away team, and they're sitting under different on different sides, and you wouldn't go on the opposing school's side if it was not the one you're supposed to be at, unless you were for some reason invited by a friend that was there. And I don't think that's something that's discussed in this video, but there was discussion that the person who he was supposedly there to hang out with or whatever, this kid apparently, and this was a witness for the defense, by the way, says that I didn't actually really know him that well. My sister does, and he's like, well, you do talk to him. I was like, yeah, once in a while. This wasn't even like, somebody who's some super close friend. It certainly wasn't somebody that was like, oh, hey, buddy, come over here. Hey. No, he just showed up, saw that guy, probably was looking for his sister, and wanted to get out of the rain, so he sat under the tent. And then rather than be suffering the indignity of being put back into the rain, he didn't want to move, so he'd rather stab somebody. Yeah, it's just wild when you hear that there was not one part of this quote-unquote defense that was like represented in reality by anything that they found in the evidence. So anyway, that was just an interesting side note that I wanted to make mention of, because I was like, what the hell's going on?
Testifying that when he arrived, Metcalf had no pulse and appeared gray. Jurors also watching body cam video from school resource officers who responded to the scene that day. And one officer testifying that after Anthony was taken into custody, he heard him say, quote, "I'm not alleged, I did it." In another video, Anthony can be heard saying, "He put his hands on me. I told him, don't put his hands on me."
You see that? I can only imagine what the family's feeling when they're looking at their now deceased son laying here, and I'm looking towards Carmelo Anthony's side of the courtroom, and they're just taking it all in. It's a different kind of emotional reaction. It might not be as audible and visible because it's none of their people have died, but of course Carmelo's sitting there facing, his liberty's at stake. He could go to jail for the rest of his life.
And so while I was still inside of the courtroom, the jury also heard testimony from two teens who were under the tent that fateful day and witnessed the encounter. Both said that Metcalf asked Anthony repeatedly to leave the tent over the course of a few minutes, and that Anthony refused. One teen said that he saw Metcalf use both of his hands to push Anthony on his shoulders. At that point, Anthony had his hand in his backpack, which was on his lap. He said that Anthony swayed back, and when he came back forward, that is when Anthony stabbed Metcalf. Now, the teens testified that they did not see him actually get stabbed, but noticed blood coming from his shirt, and that's how they were aware of the stabbing. Now, I can tell you again, in one of the officer's body cameras videos, you can see Metcalf's twin brother, inconsolable, near the crime scene, and he was yelling really at the top of his lungs, crying, saying, "That was my best friend, that was my brother." Very difficult to hear. Now, I want to bring in my colleague, Amelia Jones, who sat in on this afternoon's testimony once I left the courtroom. And Amelia, I know at that point when I had left, those two teens had testified. I understand that this afternoon, other teens that were under the tent also testified.
Yes, all testimony today was from students who were firsthand witnesses to what happened under the tent. They were students either at Memorial High School or one was from Liberty High School. I want to read from my notes here. I want to start with what was consistent with the witnesses. They all testified that they believe the stabbing was not in self-defense. They believe Austin Metcalf was not looking for a fight, and they believe Carmelo Anthony was the aggressor. Now, that's what they testified to when the prosecution specifically asked them those questions. But there was some inconsistencies in their testimony today. I wrote down witnesses described the physical interaction between Metcalf and Anthony differently. I wrote down a lot of words in my notes. I have here witnesses used words such as nudge, push, touch, grab, and shove.
Okay.
All describing varying
Look at the
intensities
guy
of
that-
a
okay.
physical interaction, right? They all
Wow, what a huge inconsistency. Push, nudge, grab, touch, and shove. Wow, man, what inconsistencies there? Those you got them nailed to right. Like, what's even the point of that? Because they use words that have different connotations and slightly different colloquial different meanings when they're on the stand, as opposed to all saying the exact motion that was done. That is so stupid. There's no point in even mentioning that that's an inconsistency. It seems pretty close to being consistent across the board. He didn't say he punched him. He didn't say he attacked him. He didn't say he used any kind of serious, didn't choke him, nothing like that. It's all some variation of shoving or pushing. Like that's what seems like what had happened. And if a shove or a push is enough to get you to stab somebody, well, my goodness, that hasn't been the standard before. So I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but I think I might have edited this video wrong.
So, yes, it differed on how hard Metcalf physically touched Anthony during that altercation. I wrote down that I think it'll be interesting to see how the jury really processes that and how they understand and believe the interaction went down from the testimony that was presented. Now, of course, we have to hear the defense's witnesses, right? And what those witnesses have to say.
Yeah, I did. Okay, so I had another video ready. Hold on just a second, because it was supposed to be following that, and I guess I think I may have put it in the wrong folder or something. Oh no, where did it go? Oh, that sucks. I don't know what happened here. Gee, see, that wasn't even. That's not in the other folder, I guess. So let me see. There is another video I've got anyway, though. It's the aftermath of the case, but damn, there was some other stuff that I had that was kind of at the closing of the trial. I guess I must have put it somewhere else. I don't know where the hell I put it. Damn. Oh well. Well, that was during the trial. Now we'll move on to post-trial. There is one other video though, and I just have to include this because this will give you guys a mindset of, or the idea of the mindset of people that were backing this fucking kid. And honestly, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this, and not because of what he did. I think what he did, it's obvious he was completely in the wrong, and he deserved to be convicted for it, and he was. Now, 37 years was a sentence. Wait, 35, I think? Yeah, 35. 17 and a half for parole being eligible. Now, this is Texas. I would guarantee that it's going to be very hard for him to be, as long as Texas, in 17 and a half years is still Texas the way we know it today. I doubt that their correctional system is going to be swayed to let him out on parole after at least most of that time is served. So some people are saying after 17 and a half years, they'll just let him out on parole. This is Texas. This isn't, this isn't some left-wing state in the country that's going to see a black kid and be like, oh, yeah, he's eligible, let him out. These are people that would look at the merits of the case and make a decision based on his behavior, which I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. Usually high-profile cases like this, it's hard to know what's going to happen when it comes to their treatment. A lot of times they end up being forced into solitary or some sort of protective custody because the high-profile case means that already before they get to prison, someone's looking to make a name for themselves by going after them. That's what happened with Dahmer. That's what happened with what's his name? Scott Peterson. He wasn't killed, but he was attacked brutally a couple times, and that's already what happened to Derek Chauvin now, which is really sad. That's really just once again more injustice in that situation. But this is a case where I can't really tell because he's so young, number one, and number two, he doesn't really have he didn't do anything like kill a child or kill a woman. He killed a guy that he was fighting with, or he was having a verbal feud with. There could be some people that would be after him. I don't know, though. I don't see that being the same as, because obviously when it comes to most of the others, they're pretty infamous for some pretty brutal instances of violence. But and with Derek Chauvin, it's obviously because people believed that he was racist, and that was why he did anything at all in that situation. But let me go on to the video real quick with some of the reaction. Now, I'll start with this one. This one stands on its own, but this is probably one of the best examples of what I'm talking about. This is what people can convince themselves is a more understandable reason for getting some sort of guilty verdict, as opposed to the reality that no, he just stabbed a kid because he was arrogant and got pushed and wanted to freaking show he was a tough. I don't know, but that he was arrogant enough to believe that he's going to be able to do this and there's going to be no consequence, I guess, for it. Whatever. But anyway, here's what I'm talking about. I don't know this guy at all. His name's Willie Brown or something. I don't know. Willie something, because black conservative perspective. Greg Foreman talked about this guy, and this guy's got some interesting topics to discuss. So let's check this out.
A staff member who watched the video of the killing, the whole altercation actually, stated that the media has edited or airbrushed Carmelo Anthony's injuries to his eye. He had welts on his eye,
that's right.
and his bridge of his nose was swollen. And he said that the media has edited or airbrushed those injuries. What I tell y'all about that damn media?
Oh man,
mainstream media ain't. And they've always worked against black folks. They've always, look, the government has always been foul, right?
I thought this was.
But they could not have done it without the media. The media shapes public opinion. Like we're taught kind of not to trust government, right? We're always suspicious of government. We're suspicious of politicians. But the media comes off as it's for the people. Watch the news at night, 5 o'clock news, your news station, Houston's own news station, all this type of stuff that they say to make you feel like they're looking out for you.
Sorry for
they got the nice
thing,
suits
guys.
on, they're smiling when they have to smile.
Weird.
They get serious. When bad things happen, they're serious. So it looks like it's coming from a place of integrity, and good intent, right? They always have an agenda.
Really.
They always have had an agenda. Their agenda is to brainwash the public, to help the government control what you think, what you drink, what you eat, where you go, where you live, who you vote for. Yeah, all of this stuff, fam. Yeah, this is what the media do. Mainstream media, this is what they've always done. They've always colluded with the government to make black people look bad.
Oh, that's what it is.
The government could not have done it without the media. Mainstream media in America has spread so much propaganda to harm black people's image around the world.
I don't know about that.
There are people in other parts of the world who have never, ever met a black person before, but they have a bad opinion because of the propaganda that American media spews. This case is one of those cases where I do think that the algorithm is going to
here's where it gets into stuff he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
Not probably. It's going to have a lot to do with the outcome.
The algorithm is going to have a
I
lot
think
to
the
do with the
algorithm
outcome.
is going to have a lot to do with the outcome because we live in an age now where the algorithm sways public opinion. If you look up and every time you see an article and it's saying that, oh, he badly pushed him. Oh, he badly pushed him. Oh, he wouldn't want to. He was warned. He was told. He was told? By who? They didn't have any authority to, first of all, tell him to move. And they damn sure did not have any authority to remove him. See, they don't want to talk about that part.
Oh, about
They don't
the
want to talk
authority.
about that. They don't want to talk about the part where they jumped him.
They jumped
They're not talking
him.
about that.
Yeah.
See, now we get down to the good part.
Yeah, the good
They
part.
don't want to talk about that. Well, he still had a knife. He still shouldn't have brought a knife to school. They don't even oppose mass shooters the way that they're opposing Carmelo having a knife.
That's where you jump the shark completely, dude. Yes, in fact, they blame the guns and the gunmen so much that everything you said is kind of bullshit. I don't know what world you're living in or what media you're watching, but that is what every fucking news station does. This whole idea that the news demonizes black people, what in the fuck are you watching? Are you watching some sort of racist news network I'm not aware of? Because not one news company I've ever seen is particularly hostile towards black people for some reason. I have no idea where this opinion comes from. But then this idea that he shouldn't have had a knife, well, they don't even I mean, like, everything he's saying is essentially what he's trying to accuse people of. Oh, well, yeah, that's what you're doing. It's like, oh, well, he didn't have the authority. What the fuck do you mean the authority? He wasn't supposed to be there. Austin Metcalf, yeah, he could have gone to grab the coach or a teacher or something to remove the guy, but you don't really expect, I think, asking someone to move from a tent they're not supposed to be in is going to end with you getting stabbed. So I think maybe that might be why he thought it was, not too big of a deal to, hey, you're in the wrong tent, man. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding. That would be the first thought that would run through my head. If it's like, maybe he just doesn't know. Here, I'll let him know and see what happens. And then when you're instantly met with hostility, you're going to be like, well, hey, dude, no, you're just not supposed to be here, man. Get out of here. And if you start raising the tension by somebody acting like fucking smart-ass tough guy, yeah, it's going to probably lead to an altercation. And who's the one who's armed and who doesn't know that? The one who's armed is the one who's starting the fight. The one who doesn't know that is the one who's reacting to what's being said. And what's being said is some hostile, very unusually irritated sort of sounding anger. Sounds like, based on what I've heard from the parents, who ultimately are probably the biggest villains in this situation. I hate to use that word, but the reality is, if you remember those crowdfunding campaigns, all that money was blown, and this was the result of the law legal assistance that they got. A guy who fumbled the case so goddamn bad that it took 3 hours of deliberation from the jury, and every single witness the defense called pretty much backed up more the prosecution story than the defensive story. So, wow. What happened to all that legal money? Oh, yeah, that's right. They moved into a gated community. They bought new cars, new shoes, nice new clothes, all that stuff. I thought it was for a legal defense. That's why they had to start a second GoFundMe, right? Yeah, that's right. This is a very disgusting family, and I think they just assume that, yeah, we'll just play the media to, go off of the same kind of rhetoric that they use anytime someone gets accused of something. We'll play that this is just white power coming after us. Yeah, that's what it is. That's why you were able to raise all that money by people who were obviously sympathetic with the case of the poor, wrongly accused black suspect who didn't do nothing wrong. Or maybe, just maybe, it was riding off of the, the sort of constant guilt by association expected to be the norm in the United States for white people, that they're the ones responsible for all the hostility against anyone who is of a different skin color. But anyway, there was one last one. I don't even know if, because this is, is it even, well, how long is this one? Let me see. 3 minutes 45. Yeah, you know what? I'll play this real quick because this is the point. This is what's going on in
Dallas, Texas,
the U.S. right now as well.
Grand Prairie, Irvin, Dalworth, Plano, Denton, Keller. It ain't safe for none of you white folks to come out this weekend. On a fair warning right now. And guess what? It's going to be a bunch of outside that look like me. And we ain't out there with no pocket knives. We out there with these. I guarantee y'all going to pay for what that judge just did to Carmelo. If you don't believe me, bring y'all bold ass out this weekend.
I don't even know where you're going to be. So.
Hey, wasn't you on jury selection?
Watch
no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
He just walks up to a guy.
He wasn't.
He was on jury selection.
He's a vet, dude. He's a vet. He's a vet. He ain't been on jury selection.
I ain't worried about that. You gonna die.
Quit, dude.
You on jury? Wasn't you on jury?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
You on jury selection?
He wasn't, by the way.
You was on jury selection?
No, he wasn't.
Oh.
No, he wasn't.
Not for Anthony, not for Carmelo Anthony. Oh. All right, my beat. I thought you was on jurisdiction for Carmelo.
No, apologize to him, dude.
My beat. Man, what?
Don't matter.
How about that? I'm saying that. Because y'all want to play these games. Y'all want to play these crackhead games, so I'm going to play them. White lies. How about that? How about that? I hate the white people like that. I don't have an opinion.
Oh, look at this lunatic.
I don't have an opinion here.
Just like Carmelo was doing. I'm glad you just said that. That's what Carmelo was doing. Protecting his motherfucking self.
The energy right now is very white supremacy. Show.
They have shown up to be the pigs that they display with hate.
See?
They are celebrating the loss of life and the loss of freedom.
Oh, we're celebrating. Yeah.
So that's the energy. The family who didn't know that they was going to have to let their son go back into a holdover because we have an overzealous prosecutor who lied throughout this trial, who put on liars so that they can win an election. That's what it feels like right now.
We already see the prosecutor made clear that he wants it to be a long sentencing.
What I heard from this man today is indicative of why it's important that it's people that look like us that are in courtrooms like that. He invoked race. He equated Dallas County as being the ghetto, opposed to Frisco being safe. They propagandized a photo of the deceased with black people around praying, saying this is community. They used us as a prop in order to pitch their lynching. This man has been known to be an overzealous prosecutor when it comes to us. He see us as what was the statement that free labor. That's what he see us as.
Free labor. What?
So I'm not surprised
This
that this
sounds like the most
prosecutor,
confused
who has
bitch I've ever heard.
unethical background, would get up there
Mm-hmm.
and ask for the max when he know that this was self-defense.
Oh, he knows it was self-defense. Yeah. That's why you know, they gave him nowhere near the max, which was 99 years, by the way. 37 or 35 sounds like it's a little shy of that. It doesn't sound like this was overzealousness, nor does it sound like it has anything to do with some election. I have no idea what you're talking about. But long story short, this is basically what the opinion is for people who are race hustling and have no other concern over any scenario. They don't care whatsoever what the outcome is going to do to their community, to the United States, to the justice system, to anything. Their concern is how they look to the public, and you know, when they have a lot of, I don't know where this idea of the media being anti-black comes from. This is the group of people that said fiery but mostly peaceful. One of the most ridiculous statements I've heard in my life. And now we're here. And it's the first time, like I said, you're starting to see a lot of black people, white people, Asian people, Mexican people, people from all walks of life, of all colors, saying, yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. This makes no sense. There's no reason for any of this. And then look at what the family did afterwards. They milked the sympathy of everyone involved for the poor black boy getting unjustly prosecuted. And it's kind of sweeping through, and it's mostly, like I said, because the parents decided to keep going and going, and they made it so obvious. But that's kind of part of the problem, is it had to get this far. It had to get to the point that it was so blatantly obvious what these people were doing, and had nothing to do with their son, who they supposedly care about so much. They're going to let him kind of just go face the legal system with whatever they can get, because this guy is basically a con artist telling him, oh yeah, we got this, there's no problem, we'll just, you know, make sure that we get, like I heard one statement from the father saying, I thought that, you know, we would be fine because we had truth on our side. What the fuck are you talking about? Did you ever listen to the story at all, or did you only listen to your son? Because it sounds to me like if you wanted a full picture of this, you would listen to more than just your child to prepare him and prepare any. I mean, it's amazing that he wasn't instructed with this kind of. They would have known what happened if you had correct legal counsel that would have been looking out for your best interest. He would have taken a plea deal. He would have taken a plea deal. There's no way in hell with this kind of evidence that he was going to get by on a claim of self-defense. There was not one thing that was demonstrated in this case that had any kind of suggestion in it that would have even looked anything close like the idea that this was some kind of struggle or altercation where it went back and forth. Even this was, and in that situation, who even knows if it's a fight? Well, then, you know, it depends on who starts it as well, and also, you know, the context of what actually happened. But we don't even need to go there, because there wasn't a fight. He got shoved. He thought the appropriate response was to stab somebody. That's a dangerous person if he's that entitled. But then he takes off and running because he knows he's going to get in trouble. And the weird part is that he just admitted it to cops. I'm guessing that he had, at that point, believed that nothing's going to happen to me. I don't know what he believed, but the point is that now people are waking up. Now, here's the thing. We're watching in Britain as things are hitting a tipping point for everything going really, really negative really quick. And we're seeing in America something that's happening that maybe is causing people to think twice about this situation, because the arguments are kind of starting to make sense. I doubt it's sinking into the level that it should, but at the bare minimum, cracks are starting to appear in the armor. And no one is just taking everything at face value, like you have to believe every word that comes out of the mouth of a minority because of the virtue of them being a minority. Now, I'm hoping that that is the scenario we kind of head into, but we'll have to wait and see. But as we're seeing these two things happen, and the aftermath, now we're watching things like, the Metcalf family being threatened and being doxxed and having them swatted, and there's all kinds. I mean, I guarantee you they're going to be put through the ringer, and it's bullshit. It shouldn't happen. They've been through enough. People are going to stay in their camps regardless. But I think it's time to recognize that, and this is why when we go into, I'm going to have to save this story for later because this one's going to be too long, but that's why the California situation is so fucked up, because we're staring down the results of what's been going on in this state, and somehow we're looking at the very likely reality that we're not going to end up with any kind of different sort of philosophy that is in a position of power. Nobody is willing to do anything different than the previous governor or mayor of Los Angeles or whatever. And this will be for the next episode, but it's starting to seem more and more like there's just so much consolidated power that has come to the Democrats in California that even if someone was going to win, quote unquote, they would shut that shit down, because it seems like when you look at what happened with Spencer Pratt, and we'll get, like I said, we'll have to get to this next episode. There's one more thing I want. Do I have time? What was that? Yeah. Well, how long is that? Let me see. I'll see if I can find out. Oh man, that's long. That's really long. Yeah, I think we'll have to save that for the next one. And also, I was going to cover this too, but I'll have to do this in the next episode. J.D. Vance and his appearance on the View. Because that actually tells a story in and of itself. And then he went on Gutfeld later. He went on one other show, and I can't remember what it was. But it was interesting there as well. But anyway, it was the 5. It was interesting there, too. Jessica Tarloff tried giving him some mouth, and that was like, nope, sorry, bitch. But yeah, I didn't want to make this super long episode, especially because after everything that went on to get this episode up, it was not as easy to get this going. And like I said, today was kind of crazy. But I'll just close with this. Right now, we've got America going through a very difficult period combined with the combination of people waking up to how manipulative a combination of media sources and NGOs that are getting a lot of well, they're making a lot of extra, let's say, contributions based on quote-unquote activism that's really just a hustle. It's nothing more, nothing less. It's just a hustle to try and make some extra money by promoting something they don't believe in, they don't care about. They just know they're gonna be given something of benefit. Plus, they're going to be treated like heroes by people that actually buy into it. In the UK, they've reached the point where it's so over the top that they're kind of recognizing something has to be done. I'll probably try to find that clip of those statements, victim statements from the Muslim rape kings when I go to the next episode. The fact that this has been going on for as long as it has, and you still have people in this country, by the way, I couldn't believe I was watching some of the people that were out still, even after what's been presented, still after how we've seen so many people who have played innocent, played victim, acted like, this community is just a peaceful. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm sure it is. You want to institute? They likely do want to institute Sharia law, but still want to give them the benefit of the doubt and act like, well, Tommy Robinson, he's the one who's. I can't believe when I hear this shit. He's like, wait a minute, this guy's trying to expose something that no one in the country seems to be willing to do too much about, including the politicians for the longest time, had no interest in even talking about this. And yet, you're going to put it all on Tommy Robinson, and it's all his fault. It's just like Piers Morgan and his little weird crusade against Tommy, and it seems like it really does seem like more Americans are on his side because it seems like they can empathize. We've seen this same kind of denial before, where people are so convinced by this delusional idea that that everything is out to get the poor minorities, and it's just unjust for. Well, here's the reality: life is unfair. The world's difficult. If you can go to another country and demonstrate that you are fleeing oppression, or you can go to another country and you abide by the rules and you apply for citizenship and you work hard enough, then there may be a chance for you to change your situation. But there is no. We'll just be absolutely clear here. You're not deserving of just being handed a better life on a platter because you've suffered. There's a lot of people that have suffered, and a lot of people that have suffered infinitely more than I could ever understand or you could ever understand. And they don't just get handed free shit because of that suffering. They have to do something to prove that not only are they worth, is their cause worth backing, but or their is their the cause that they are leaving worth believing, and there's some validity to it, and you can understand that, but that you are a person willing to repay that kindness by not taking for granted this kindness, but by being thankful. And that's the worst part, is that no one treats it like no one goes into the UK and it's like, apparently now, even at all, thankful whatsoever that they've been given this amazing gift of citizenship or legally immigrated to the country, and acting like it's any kind of big deal. It's like, all right, cool. Like, no, you've just been granted a massive, massive mercy by this country, and you don't even have the sincerity to state, thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, it's just like expected. And when it's expected, there's nothing about it that is based on generosity. This is for the benefit of a bunch of fat, overly pompous and arrogant politicians that are looking for their next campaign slogan, and the way to condemn the evil anti-immigration right-winger. It's just. It's a talking point that's way too old now. Most of it's rooted in bullshit, and it needs to go away because we're watching a situation unfold that could just about be serious enough to jeopardize the entire society that is being forced to live with these conditions, and it's a travesty, and it shouldn't happen. Anyway, I'll cut it there, guys. Sorry for a short episode, but like I said, this has been a really weird couple of days, and I will be hopefully back as soon as I can. But maybe I need to start making it a point to sleep and then always do the show immediately, not long after I wake up. If I do that, maybe I'll just be just the only way I'll be as sure as I can possibly be, I guess. But anyway, I will be on as soon as I can. What is today? Today's Thursday or Wednesday? What is it? It is Wednesday. Yeah, somebody said it was Thursday. It's not Thursday. Anyway, I will. I'll try to make it on by. I think tomorrow I'm going to be actually doing something instead of Friday, so I might be able to actually do Friday this time, and so I'll be aiming for that. But and I already got material to cover, luckily, because there was stuff that I was going to get to today that I haven't been able to get to. But yeah, likely I'll see you guys on Friday. So until then, take care of yourselves and have a good one. And thank you guys so much for watching. Really do appreciate it. Take care. Peace.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.